Blog Talk Radio.
Hey guys, this is Those Guys with your host Matt Marrero along with your other host.
Your friendly neighborhood ghostly host, Tristan Walter.
Yeah, Tristan Slimer.
Oh God.
Today, is it Slimer Walter? I'm sorry.
No, I don't want to come back as that. Oh.
Hey, you got a girl in the passenger side seat? You got friends in the car?
Oh my God, I guess.
He looked like he was having a good time.
Yeah, true. He's having the time of his life.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, good for Slimer, man. But okay, so I just want to talk to everybody about what we're talking about today. We're talking about yeah, right. We can't let them know. We just have to vaguely talk about it for 2+ hours.
They have to guess the title of the movie.
Right. So we're talking about not Ghostbusters 3, Ghostbusters 2016 reboot, or 2015 reboot, 15, 16, a couple months off. But we're talking about that, and we're talking about how much we didn't hate it, because I feel like it was very hard for you and I to hate this movie, because we heard so much backlash before the movie even fucking came out. We were like, all right, it can't be as bad as what these people are saying.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It was not as bad as like everyone was trying to kind of push out. Now, granted, I think if there are people that are saying this is the best Ghostbusters ever, I do think you got to slow your roll a little bit.
Yeah, right.
It's not the best Ghostbusters, but I don't think it's the worst Ghostbusters, because after 2, there was a really bad taste in my mouth. And it wasn't whatever icky ghost...
it wasn't just pink slime?
Yeah, it wasn't just pink slime. Yeah, it wasn't just ectoplasm. That, by the way, got in every crack. It just was...
Oh, my God.
You know, because, you know what? Okay, so my problems with this movie are... Because I actually haven't seen any, like, reviews or heard anyone talk about this film, which is kind of sad, because, I mean, I'm pretty sure its box office numbers reflect why I haven't really heard that many people talk about this film. And I think the thing is because it's just... I don't think people... Okay, so Ghostbusters is obviously very popular, and still is pretty popular, I would argue. But I don't know if Ghostbusters was ever that kind of... It hit a certain plateau that people would be like, wow, a reboot? I want to go see that, regardless of who's in it and what it's about.
Mm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like Ghostbusters, even though it has gotten comic book adaptations, it didn't start off as a comic book. It didn't start off as a video game franchise. It became video games, it became cartoons, it became comics. But I don't, and by the way, I'm sure people who were born in the 80s are going to, like, literally want to stab me in the fucking throat for talking about Ghostbusters this way. But I'm just trying to say that as someone who knew about Ghostbusters growing up, it was definitely in the public conscious. It definitely, like, as a kid growing up in the 90s, I knew what Ghostbusters was. But you and I didn't really watch it until a few years back.
Yeah.
Right? So I think we might have missed that Ghostbusters wave. So that's why I think for us, we're not feeling this attached to it getting a reboot. But I also feel like other people didn't feel attached to it in the sense that they didn't feel like they wanted to go see it, or not even to not go see it. Do you see what I mean? Like, I wonder if because people probably say, oh, its box office numbers did so poorly because the SJW agenda isn't working. Like, but then you complain that it is working and that they're pushing it. No, what we complain about is that it's there, but no one likes it, other than SJWs, other than them, and they rule everything. They do, so then they like it and they're in power. No.
Right.
It's always hard to know what the agenda's doing and who's into the agenda and who's pushing what agenda. So it's hard for me to fucking nail down what those theories are. So for me, I feel like it's not so much the people not wanting to see it because women. I think it's more so that people who really wanted to see their original cast members playing the original characters
right,
kind of didn't go see it, mixed in with other people who just had no strong opinion one way or the other, like you and I, where you and I were like, oh, the movie looks good, but am I going to pay $13 to $19 to go see it in theaters?
Right.
Right, like would you rather get it on something like Netflix? Or would you rather, or some other streaming service? Or would you rather just go to a friend's house who they bought it on DVD and you're like, thank you? Right? Like, nothing, because the thing is, and also the thing too, by the way, I want to mention, you saw the trailers when they first came out, right? Or did you?
Yeah, no, I think I saw one or two here and there.
There were some people online that were like, oh, this doesn't impress me. And I have to be honest, at least one of them did not impress me when I first saw the trailer. So like when I first saw the trailer, I was like, I don't know. Then I saw the second one, and I was like, oh wow, I'm actually kind of pumped for this, because I have to say one thing, and you were talking to me about this too before we began the show. The cast brought their A game. They were good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the movie was funny. It's not like we're sitting here with two guys that are like, this is the worst movie that I've ever seen, right? Like, no, it's not that at all. It's just more so that it's funny because. I think you sort of agree with me on this, but if you disagree, then please, I want to hear your thoughts on it. I thought the movie was too funny.
I mean,
like I felt like in some parts you had to just let it breathe, and we need to let either Kate McKinnon or Melissa McCarthy. We need to let, or even the Chris Hemsworth as a receptionist. We need to let one of them be the wacky character.
Right.
We can't have everyone feel like they're stepping out of a Marvel comic book and then have Kristen Wiig try to be the most relatable when she's literally tripping over herself with Hemsworth.
Right.
I was going to say tripping over her ovaries because literally every time she looks at him, she thinks about reproducing.
I mean, it is Chris Hemsworth, so.
No, I do too. I'm just trying to say that so does, I'm not in the movie. I'm not disagreeing with her. I'm just saying that those scenes then make her wacky. So it kind of feels like every single scene. This is how it felt, right? It felt like, and I mean this more so from an energy perspective, not from a gross out perspective, or it seems like every single scene, everyone at one point or another could have been Deadpool. Right.
Everyone's being wacky at some point. Yeah. There's no one with like that dry sense of humor that's kind of like it still has their funny moments, but kind of tones everybody back for a minute to like bring them back to okay, what the fuck is happening right now, right here.
Yeah, because it felt like you had that a little bit from Leslie Jones, which is good, but Leslie Jones is also so funny and charismatic that a lot of that comes out, like the power of Patty compels you and shit like that.
Oh, yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh, yeah, no, and that's the thing. I'm not saying that those scenes weren't funny. It's just that at a certain point you just need everyone to calm down and have a moment of just to breathe. And it feels like we may have gotten that once or twice, to be fair, but it felt like every single, because some people would say, but Matt, there's Kristen Wiig's character. But again, during those moments where she's with Hemsworth, or even some other stuff as well, it just feels like like she was just over the top. Right? And she's obviously very good on SNL. She's, by the way, a lot of SNL alumni here, or women who have been on SNL, or people who have been on SNL, or with NBC. So it's funny because I think people forget that because people are like, oh, we people from SNL, and it's like, guys, remember that the original Ghostbusters was literally filled with SNL alumni. It's just that we forget because we weren't watching SNL at the time. But so a lot of SNL folk in this movie, which is good. It's just that I feel like because some people were saying it feels like one long SNL skit, which I don't know if I would say that exactly, but it does feel like there was just a bit too much humor, where it's kind of like when you look at something like Deadpool or other kind of comic book adaptations, you can sit there and be like, they're so wacky and over the top because they're not meant to be real people. In some respects.
Right.
Like they're meant to be superheroes and not like I'm supposed to be looking at them and think, oh yes, this is different, right? This is this is Deadpool. Like yeah, just being Deadpool, being so over the top, breaking the fourth wall, all that shit. Where here it's kind of like, all right, you are a professor, and then also having her in the beginning. Kind of freaking out. I thought it was her first day on the job, and sure, it's stressful trying to get tenure. I know that, right? I've heard that before. But when you first see her, you're like, oh, is this her first day on the job? That must be rough. And it's like, no, I'm getting tenure. It's like, oh, you just do this all the time? You just stretch like that in front of your bosses all the time? Granted, she didn't know he was there, but it's like, how have you gotten to this point if you've been this awkward?
Right. And threw that all away for one ghost sighting.
No, I would like to admit, though.
You find your calling, but...
Yes. Also, two things. Well, two things I have to mention, though. First off, I think we should note, Bill Murray, we also wondered how he got where he got, to be fair. Because I'm pretty sure we criticized that, too, in the first movie. We were like, how the fuck is Bill Murray even here?
Yeah.
To be fair. But talking about throwing it all away, though, like you mentioned, I don't think she knew it was going to be on YouTube.
No, that's true.
Also, I want to mention, she does not seem like she's savvy technologically.
That too, oddly enough, yeah.
But one thing I want to mention, though, is if they weren't going to get her on YouTube, they were going to get her for the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, also, her friend Abby, right? That's the name? Abby?
I think her first
name is Abby, dick. Abby's a
yeah.
dick. You couldn't remove her name from the credits?
Yeah, right.
No, but like, I mean, I know that sets up the whole movie and everything, but it's like, if you're going to reprint it, just remove her name from the credits before reprinting.
Right.
Although it's really funny how she was like, that's a revenue stream. I'm 1/10 of the way from getting a fridge in here. And I was like, that sounds about right, yes. Well, a 20-year-old ghost book on Amazon, how much is that really netting you?
Right. I mean, that's
literally
the hook that got her in. So, but yeah.
But 20 years ago. Remember, this is Amazon now.
No, I know. I'm saying if not that, then how are we going to get those characters together again too for the movie?
Oh no. I know that's the only hook. That's what I'm saying to you. Like that's how we have to get them together. I'm just saying that it was really funny and realistic when she said, "Yeah, the book is on Amazon and it's not selling well." Essentially.
Right.
Like literally, I'm sure out of the 10 people that bought it, one of them was that weirdo who became the main villain.
Yeah.
They should have just autographed it for him. They were the true villains.
Oh my God.
It was just a meet and greet in disguise. Them being down there in that basement with him, that was his Comic-Con. Busters were the true villains in the movie.
Oh God.
He's like, you brought the costumes too? It's just like, no. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying that, they could have at least charged him $20 and just gotten an autograph. Like, give him an autograph, but whatever. I mean, those books weren't selling well. Someone buys it, you better damn well autograph it. But back to the whole characters thing, right? So, like, you see where I'm coming from, where I feel like we needed one character, or maybe even two, to be that, to ramp up the energy. But then the rest had to be a bit more subdued. But it seems like we just met one kooky person after another. Like, granted, I love where it's just like the only reason why you're the principal right now is, or the dean, because the last one died. You spell science with a Y, and I don't think you know that that's wrong. Like, it was fucking hilarious. But no, I love him because he's on he is oh shit, he's Fallon's co-host.
Right.
Jimmy Fallon? Yeah, the guy who played the dean. He's he's Fallon's co-host, I'm pretty sure. 95% sure. Yeah.
Right.
So that's where his tie is in the whole NBC verse that they got going on here.
Oh my God.
Like the woman that was playing the mayor's assistant? Publicist? Yeah. She's on SNL.
Right. Oh God.
Yes.
So this is just SNL busters.
Yeah, no, basically it's what it is, and it's awesome, but that's what it is. I mean, and of course we've had Melissa McCarthy and Chris Hemsworth be hosts on SNL before over the years. I mean, being in such large movies, of course, right? But no, yeah, that's what when I told you, Tristan, when I said at the beginning, I'm like, a big SNL project here, just like the first one.
Yeah.
It really is, right? But yeah, so when people were shitting on this, because I think, I want to give a little tiny bit of backstory in case people don't know about it at all for some reason. A lot of people, when the movie was first announced, and it was announced as a reboot and an all-female main cast, aside from Hemsworth, because I consider him part of the main cast. I mean, he considers himself a Ghostbuster. Why shouldn't I, right? So,
Exactly.
so he's, yeah, right. Did you go to that deli over there? Yeah, I was looking for you guys. God damn it. The scene with the glasses, too, just killed me. Yeah, I don't have to clean them. Just took them out. And it was like, oh, God. Anyway, so with the four of them as Ghostbusters, right, the Internet did what the Internet does and turned on the movie relatively quickly, discussing social justice warriors, feminist agendas. I assume because Kate McKinnon was in it, they discussed the gay agenda as well, and all this other fun stuff that really makes the Internet as cheeky as it is. Oh, you cheeky Internet. So a lot of other people, right, were like, that's dumb, and then that's the great. If anyone from the anime community is like, what's this year's version of dub versus sub? Well, it's this. Not so much in the content, but in the sheer animosity towards one another. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to like the movie, but it's a reboot with four women as the main characters, and that's that. Now, it's just odd, though, because it felt like there were so many people there were initiatives, people like, oh, let's just all get together to downvote the trailer so Sony knows that we don't like it. And it's just like, look, guys, what matters is the box office numbers. And guess what? They didn't do well. So clearly everyone reacted, and that's how they feel, right, about the film. It's the box office numbers that matters. It doesn't matter if you downvote a bunch of trailers. Sony will know, well, did you go watch the ad to downvote it? Yeah? Oops. You saw the ad on the video? Oops. So, I just feel like it's so weird because also you have people talking about agendas or people talking about oh, well, these companies are trying to push a narrative. And look, I don't like the idea that corporations are people because that always gets into weird territory. But corporations are made up of people. So you're telling me that there isn't one person working at Sony that's just you know what? Women are cool.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the idea, I don't know if you know this, Tristan, the idea is, oh, I don't like it not because women are in the movie, but because it's not authentic, because the corporations are trying to push a certain narrative. If they actually believed in women's rights and feminism, then I'd be okay with it.
Okay.
Right? Oh, my God. Tristan gave us our first Saitama reaction ever. That was beautiful. Oh, Tristan, I'm so proud. Literally, that whole spiel, you're like, okay. Well, because the thing is, but how do you respond to that, right? Okay, so you'd agree with feminism only if it was quote unquote real, but because you deemed that it's not real, now all of a sudden you don't agree with the specific ideal. Okay. I love it. You just become the arbiter. You become the judge, jury, executioner of, well, I can judge and know when it's actually genuine or not. So because it's not genuine in this case, I don't agree with it. It's all right, but I'm a person. Me, Matt Marrero, I'm a person, so I agree with it. So what's the point there? No, but Matt Marrero, you actually work with those guys on the radio and those guys play. Therefore, you're pushing an agenda. Therefore, you don't actually agree with it. It's okay.
Therefore,
what about me on my personal Facebook? Yeah, right. What about me on my Facebook when I'm not on the podcast? Oh, no, but then you're actually not real, you're a corporate bot. And it just gets to so much it just gets to the point where it's just like, okay, so then what? You expect me to walk to you up on the street and just wave pre-podcast years ago and be like, hey, I'm not being paid. Like, I don't, like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just, it turns into such bullshit. I will admit, though, right, again, I just want to put it out there. You know, I like the movie. I don't love the movie. I don't hate the movie. I like the movie. However,
Right.
if George Soros and Hillary Clinton want to cash some checks for me, I'll love the movie.
Oh, my God.
I'll love it. But right now, I just like it. So until those checks clear, I don't love it. Right now, I'm in the middle. Push me more towards towards corporations. But in all seriousness, though, right?
Yeah.
For me, we can be bought out with a sandwich from the deli. What was it? What was when Patty, Leslie Jones' character, was like, I have a cousin who's half as dumb and will work for Vienna sausages.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's what it was. But yeah, also, one random thing, and I don't know if I said this in the first movie or not, but I think it felt true here as well in this film. It doesn't feel as if at almost any point they were in any actual danger. Other than one point, and not even the end of the movie. It's more so when Melissa McCarthy's character, when Abby was possessed. That is when I was like, oh shit, things have really ramped up here.
Right, yeah.
Because I don't know about you, man, throughout the entire movie, it felt like we were just watching them not succeed, because they have obviously had to learn how to use some of the equipment and everything, but I never felt like someone could be hurt. And I know in the first movie it's not like we sat there going, which one's going to die? But I don't know, maybe I said the same thing during our first movie podcast as well. It was a while ago, so I can't recall. But I don't remember, seeing this movie, I didn't really feel like, oh no, is one of them, are they all going to be okay? So I'll say that much. And it's not even just based on the villain. It's based on the ghosts seeming like a big deal, but not actually pulling the trigger. Like, as much as, I'm not saying this movie had to be super dark, but I thought the first guy that we saw in the film, the one that was helping, he was working at that haunted house attraction that was actually haunted, I thought he was dead.
I thought he was dead. How? Yeah, actually, I thought he was totally dead too, and yet when he came back on screen, I didn't actually think about it because I was too, I don't know, I guess I was too into the idea of the main cast finally getting together. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, how the hell is he alive?
Now, granted, it's not like the librarian died in the first movie. I'm pretty sure they were like, she went into shock, and so they took her away or something.
Right. But that one, she just got, like, the ghost was just scaring her and covering her in the ectoplasm. This one, it looks like, so you've literally fallen into the depths of hell.
Yes.
Like, that's what it felt like to me. The ghost threw you in boiling acid.
Yes, and I love his work, too. He's been on The Office, he's on Silicon Valley, and a few other TV shows that I don't remember what his actual actor's name is, or I don't think the character got a name, but I just remember him as Gabe, because I'm pretty sure that's who he is on The Office. Very funny actor, as you can tell just from, like, I did not piss myself. No, he called me saying he pissed himself. I did not, for the record. Right. So it's funny. I don't know if I would have. It's just so strange because I know in a movie the way the rest of the movie works with its comedy, it might not have worked if he straight up died. But they filmed it like he straight up was, like you said, falling into the depths of hell. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like it just felt like there was never, like there wasn't a moment for him to be like, I'm okay, but apparently he was. And although, oh my God, I think my favorite line, and the movie was pretty funny, but my favorite line throughout the entire movie was, so-and-so, so-and-so, oh, he died 15 years ago. Well, then who is that? Oh, that's so-and-so Jr. Well, I obviously was
probably
referencing
who
him.
I was, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, because You know why? Because I've never seen that joke before, ever. Like that.
Right.
I know it might sound silly, but I've seen a lot of different movies, cartoons. I've never seen the joke. Oh, did you mean so and so? They died. And that's their kid. I was obviously referring to their kid. Like I've never seen that. I don't know. Like I'm not saying it's a brand new that it's never been done before, but like I've just never seen that joke either on camera or even in like a cartoon. I guess because obviously they usually stray away from death in cartoons and stuff. But like I don't know, it just felt really funny and out of place, I guess, but in a good way, just unexpected.
Yeah.
Because when they said he was a ghost, I was like, are we going to explore ghosts coming back? No, it's just is his kid. But yeah, so but you see where I'm coming from, though. It never felt like they were in any actual danger, and I think that did hinder the movie a bit.
Yeah, I guess now that you mention it, looking back, it does seem like that. Looking through a lot of the ghost fights they had, doesn't actually seem like they were even close to being harmed until that possession. Yeah, and then I guess like the end fight.
Well,
like,
the end
really
fight is always the
end
end fight. Well, because the end fight is always the end. So of course that's going to be a thing. But even with because the thing is, I'm not going to say in the first movie that they were always in danger, right? It just felt like in this one, even with the at the rock show, you would think that the ghost would be trying to, murder everyone
would retaliate
or scare everyone.
Them.
Yeah. I mean, granted, I guess the ghost, you could argue, was also freaked out. Like, it was amplifying its power because it's super fucking loud, so it's like, good God, what's going on?
I guess.
But it kind of can't, but they didn't really, like, it's just so strange because, again, like, you would think it's trying to scare people or whatever. Granted, it's funny because no one is scared because they're at a fucking metal show. They're like, this is awesome. The effects are so good. And, like, the one guy in the stage crew is like, that's not me. It's not one of mine. Which was a great scene to put in there, just to kind of like show techies being like, that ghost is not something that I've made, but it was just I don't know, it was a little off that it never really felt like one of them could be hurt, or that even the people could be hurt, because it felt like an anime. Where, like, in an anime, everyone's moving so fast that it's just like, oh, they're talking, but really it's not actually going on for that long. But think about how long the ghost was just flying around at a metal show and nobody died.
Yeah. Or even, like
from the looks of it, what?
I mean, like, he threw the one guy into the stereos in the background, but that was it. Right, yeah.
Like,
and
look,
everybody else,
like, I get it.
Like, I guess that was the joke. It's like everyone like, cheered because it's a metal show, but at no point did they actually, like, when they finally realized, oh, shit's getting real, everyone just got quiet and was all standing there. It's like, no, this is the part where you run away.
Yeah, no, like, I gotta be honest, man. When they threw the guy into the fucking, into the speakers or whatever, I was like, oh, God, you're dead. And then the second thing I thought was, oh, it's funny that no one gets it because it's a metal show. So you think that's the most metal thing to pop out, is that fucking gargoyle.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, all right, that's cool. But then he gets up and continues the show, and I'm like, all right, I wanted to get the band together, Sans from him, and I'm like, we got to do an intervention because Jim is on a lot of fucking painkillers right now.
Oh, Jesus.
Jim is fucking close to ODing. Like, fucking Jim just got thrown into those, and he gets up like everything's fine. What the fuck is Jim on? Because it's not weed. Jim is on some shit right now. You guys got to get together and get him off this shit. He needs to be. How the fuck do you throw a guy that far into the thing? And he gets up and continues the show. I know it's the most metal thing, but you can't just do that. Like, if they did it to Ozzy, I'd be like, that makes sense. It's Ozzy. Hell, he'd rip the head off it. By the way, I love the cameo.
I think I'm having a flashback. Oh,
Sharon! Sharon! Well, because they advertised him being there in the movie.
Right.
He was on the posters, and I was like, oh, are we really going to get him? And then we get the opening act. And I'm like, all right, they're legally they're a band. And And then when we see Ozzy, I was like, oh shit, we actually got Ozzy Osbourne. That's pretty funny. Yeah, it was just a thing where I feel like we could have had some more spooks, because it's not like certain parts of the movie weren't scary, actually. Like the opening part of the movie, I was like, good God, man.
Right.
Like when he went into the basement, he was like, oh, you idiot. And then he's trying to climb up the stairs, and they keep on falling, and then he's holding on, and then we have her fucking face come out. So, like, that was scary. The whole thing with the eyes, where she's like, do you see the eyes? And she's like, stop messing with us. And then you see the eyes in the distance and on the subway. So there were parts of the movie that I was like, oh, wow, this is genuinely scary. But it felt like there was a really big issue with tone, where they were like, we want to make the ghost scary, but we also want to make everything, in some ways, happy-go-lucky. So we had this really strange shift where, like, by the end of the movie, when we're like, things are ramping up, well, I understand giving us the Slimer cameo, but when we're like, oh, shit, things are ramping up, then we get the balloons, which I think were funny. I'm not saying they weren't funny. We get the balloons coming in, and then we're like, oh, no, shit's about to go down, and then we get the part where the puff balloon just crushes them, and they're fine.
Right.
Which I know was funny, but still, like it.
Yeah.
It felt like here's what it felt like, right? Every time there was one thing that could be considered or was scary, we had to have like 2 or 3 funny things just to let everybody be like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. And it's like, but the thing wasn't that scary, unless I'm talking about the first 2 ghosts. Like that was scary, but it felt like every time you get something that can be considered scary, like, oh no, I made eye contact, which was funny, but like literally they're coming at them, and it's like, oh no, and it's like, don't worry, because you can be crushed by that kind of balloon person, and it's just like, oh no, my face is stuck. Granted, one of the funniest lines is, guys, this is the exact way I pictured myself dying, and I was like, all right, that's beautiful. Because Kate McKinnon had some of the best lines in the movie, I gotta say.
Oh, yeah.
Like, her wacky character was really, it was a lot of fun for me personally to see her kind of just be off the wall crazy, and seeing Kristen Wiig's character kind of come around and just open herself up to, to meeting these new people and getting out of her comfort zone. That was nice too. But I think you mentioned something to me before we began the podcast where you said you would have wanted more of their backstories just to see that growth. Or at least I'm adding the see that growth. But you're saying that you want to see more of her backstory, more of Abby's, and also more of the villains, because you felt the villain was rather weak. Could you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, I mean, it was more the villain for me. Like, the most of the main cast felt fine. I mean, I guess Patty's character kind of joins just haphazardly, but
which is very reminiscent of how it happened in the first movie as well, with the fourth member. However, though, I do feel like it's funny. She joined earlier than the fourth member, which is good because it gave her some more time to exist and mingle with the cast and with the characters.
Right.
But here's the issue, though. She still felt like she was just, like, there were some moments that they gave her to shine, to show, like, see, she knows New York, but I don't think they were as big as they were talked about in the beginning, where it's like, yeah, I know New York. And we're like, yeah, you do. That's perfect. You're literally on the underground. Like, you literally work at the MTA. That's perfect. But it seems like maybe there was some cut stuff that she did that, expanded on that more, because it felt like she did have moments, yes, but not as many that you would think to just bring in some random person that you don't know.
Right.
I mean, she gave them the car, so they needed some kind of mode of transportation. So that's another thing too. But it still felt like there were some bigger plans for her, I guess. Or maybe there are in the second movie, the potential, maybe never coming second movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
like
talk about the villain. Oh,
I was just going to say,
keep going wherever you want to go.
I feel like what would have helped with her would have been like if she actually got fired from working like with the MTA because of a ghost, and she's like, okay, like I know I've seen some weird shit, but you guys obviously know what's really going on here, and I just lost out big time. Like, let me in. I want to get back at this.
Too much firing, though, because she had to leave because we already had Wig's character being fired earlier in the movie. Also, technically, Melissa McCarthy's character was also fired, or at least not allowed to exist in that area.
Right. Yeah.
Because when they went up to the dean, they were just like,
dean,
I got to be honest, I thought you guys weren't even still here.
Right.
Which is kind of funny because it's like I could never imagine a college nowadays actually saying that.
No.
Actually, it's funny. That was the most – it's funny. We have a movie surrounded by characters that are a bit too wacky and ghosts, and that is the most unrealistic part of the entire film.
Right.
And some people might be like, but Matt, the college didn't even know they were there because they're that incompetent. And it's just like, no, but the one thing that a college is not incompetent with, even when it's incompetent in every other way, it is not incompetent with their money. And those are lights, and those are resources.
Or who is in their building. Yeah.
Yes, or who is in their building. Yeah. Granted, they were teachers and not students. Arguably, they weren't students at the college, right? They had some kind of clearance higher up than just you and I would. But still, when someone is in the building, you don't have, even if you're that incompetent, what you care about is the money aspect. I've never seen an incompetent college be so incompetent that they're just like, yeah, let's just sign some checks and hand this over. No. Like, that's the one thing a college is like very cognizant of. It's its purse.
Yeah.
Right? Like anything that holds money, a wallet, purse, whatever it is, they look at that and they're just like, that's our God, that's our Bible. These kids, who gives a shit? Anyway, but let's get off our soapbox. That's the one soapbox moment we'll have. People are sitting there like, those guys, they're going to get on a soapbox about feminism. Nope, actually about the college system. That was a weird tangent. Like, whoops. But anyway, so, but I want to hear you talk more about the villain, because I want to get into the villain and really how he was a good mirror to Abby, but also kind of lackluster. But what's your take on that?
Yeah, because I don't know, it seemed like the way he was talking about, like, building the machines to get the bringing the ghosts over to our side more with these things that he was constructing in the, boiler room of the hotel, and then placing them about New York. Like, all that was cool, but, like, it felt like he was kind of the puppet character, and yet we didn't really get a master to show the master plan. It was just kind of, I want revenge on people because my life is shit.
Which here's the thing though, right? I think that it's a good foil for Abby's character and even Kristen Wiig's character, who, because they had friends and they had each other, despite all of their quote-unquote weirdness, they were able to overcome that through the power of friendship and also just having someone there to accept them for who they are, instead of kind of having that unchecked and then having everyone ostracize you and have that delve into madness. However, though,
and that was good. Like, once you pointed that idea out to me, like, I got that, and I did. It made me feel a little bit better about things. But
it just needed to be said.
Yeah, they didn't really drive it. I mean, I get, like, I don't know. I can usually pick up on stuff like that in movies, but it felt like, I don't know, here it just didn't get driven home enough for me, I guess, and I didn't really pick up on it as much. Yeah,
because it didn't. Because it felt like, and, I'm not trying to, because I think, I want to be careful how I say this, because I don't want it to turn into us being like, and they were being mean to us, because that's really dumb. But it does feel like it was kind of a, let's shit on the nerd. Well, granted, all 4 women are nerds, right, in the context of the film, right? All 4 characters are nerds. Like, you would think that if they were going to just shit on nerds, they would shit on Kate McKinnon's character the most. But they don't.
Right.
Like, in context of the film, they don't. They accept her. They're like, but dude, could you not, though, sometimes, when it's a bit too much?
Yeah.
But they don't shit on her like, get out of our club. right? Like, they don't do that, despite the fact that they might need to due to, like, safety concerns. Like, she has lit things on fire, yes. Anyway, so
blow torches. Yeah. Oh my
God, that was funny. I know, right? But the thing is, though, is that it did feel like a kind of shit on the nerd thing. However, again, that's why it wouldn't have been much of that to me if you mentioned, like, oh, you know, we had friends because you didn't, or, you know, I never, granted, he did mention how he never had friends, yes, but it still feels like, I'm not saying that they should have won. I mean, it's funny, they technically won through the power of love, where it's just like, I'll jump into the portal for you and then get some out of the portal. So, like, to be fair, it was a win through the power of love, if you will. But it still felt odd that we didn't drive that point home, and also the fact that he didn't even recognize, it didn't seem like he recognized the fact that the two of them, the 2 out of the 4 Ghostbusters that are coming after him, wrote the book that he's in love with.
Right.
That's why I made the joke about it being his Comic-Con. Like, he's a big fan apparently, but never even referenced it. Like, you'd think that if he's that alone, he would obsess with them. Now, maybe that was cut from the film in some way. But I have to say, too, as much as even though I said it felt like they were only in danger during the possession scene, and I really enjoyed the possession scene, and you kind of needed to have it happen in some way so that, you know, Hemsworth would be possessed later. But I do feel like it was one of the most, like, it was a part that could be cut out. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like if it had to be 2 hours and it couldn't be any more or any less, I feel like we probably shouldn't have cut out stuff like backstory. I mean, heck, as much as I loved Bill Murray's cameo, we probably could have cut that out.
Right.
Like, I don't think we needed.
He just straight up died in his scene. Oh, God. Like,
he was on the TV, too.
You get to see the ghost. So what the hell happened? So you telling me who pushed him out the window? You're telling me the ghost fucking did it? It's like,
so
that man is very dead. And yet, like, again, the guy in the first scene, it's like, no, he's fine. Like, excuse me?
Yes. So, that was the only time someone died via a ghost. And I think, so, like, here's the thing, right? With this movie, I do believe, and people are going to tell me that I'm wrong, and I got to be honest, guys. I love you, but I don't care. Because here's what I mean, right? I truly believe that the writers and directors of this movie enjoy the original Ghostbusters because of all the little things that they put in. All the little, you know, not just the cameos, but all of the, just all of the references, how some of them were kind of tied into the first movie, like the firehouse and stuff like that, the car and everything, the logo, and also how they ended up, even though Bill Murray was a different character, he was still a skeptic, just like in the first film, which is nice, right?
Yeah.
My problem, though, is that, and again, I don't think they meant to do this on purpose. They probably just thought, oh, it would be funny if they did this and this and this, but it felt like certain parts of the film were shitting on the first movie, or people in the first movie, and they weren't, right? Because I think shitting on is a really bad word, but, like, it feels like they were sitting there, and by the way, I don't think the casting for women is shitting on the first movie at all. However, even though, like, when you bring in Bill Murray and you're like, oh, he's not going to be his original character, and you're like, oh, that sucks. Like, you know, some people may have really enjoyed the first movie, right? So they're like, all right, well, you know what, I've accepted, like, it's not, some people out there who are like, oh, I love the first movie, but you know what, it's not a problem having 4 women as the main characters. It's not a problem not having people come back as their original characters, but who is Bill Murray going to be? It's like, oh, he's going to be a skeptic. And it's like, oh, that's actually very reminiscent, yeah. And he's going to die a horrible death in the first full-on scene he's in. Enjoy the rest of your movie. Like, it kind of felt like, it's not shitting, but it definitely feels like they were farting in your face. Like, it's not shitting on you, but it's still very unpleasant.
Right. Which is kind of how I felt with that joke.
What? The one I just made?
I mean, well, the film made that joke too with the
okay.
recording. I thought that's what you were trying to go for.
No, that was extremely dumb, yet somehow I still found it in me to laugh. I guess it's one of those, you know what it is? It's like the hand gesture, like when you put your fingers together and you're like, yo, look at this, and then someone looks down and they're like, motherfucker.
God.
You know what I'm thinking of, right? You know what I'm thinking of? Yes. That happened to me at work the other day, and I literally had to call someone booty. Because it was, because they were like, Matt, we need you to look at these documents real quick and check if this is okay. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I open it up, and it's just someone, one of them literally fucking took a picture of their hand or Xerox or something, their hand, and it was just a printout of it.
God damn.
And I had to look at one of my coworkers and be like, all right, dude, but you're booty. It's just how things was, is how they were, man. Like, but it was just one of those. So like, because of that, right? I had to like laugh at that fart where it's like nobody walks in, but literally you walked right into this.
Right.
And I was like, all right, that's fair. I was like, that was a fair joke. That's fair. But
yeah,
when it comes, so when it comes to the,
it was moments like those, like I don't know, I don't know. I guess the potty humor ones really didn't do it for me. It was kind of.
I know. Well, what other? Because I think that in my head that was the only potty humor one. I guess there was more.
No, I
can't
mean,
think of any.
There were a few sprinkled here. Like, I can't think of anything specific now that I say it, of course. But like,
I'm sorry to say this out loud. I'm sorry to say this out loud, but you're talking about disliking potty humor, and you said sprinkled. I just need to point that out.
Just continue on with your next point, goddammit.
You could have said okay.
Yeah,
but
I'm not.
I'm not giving you the satisfaction. Okay, so, but yeah, back to the whole idea of like, you know, farting in your face. And I'm being serious about that. That's not a joke, right? It wasn't just the Bill Murray thing. It's kind of the whole, we're gonna have you fight the logo of the original movie. It's kind of like, did you really want people who liked the first movie to watch this movie?
Right. See, it's funny.
You know what?
That's
I think
actually
that's
one reference that I liked more because they kind of did their own thing with it. Like, the cameos were nice, but it felt like after a while it was just one after the other. And I was like, all right, guys, maybe you should have picked like a few and went with those.
Well, you didn't. Wait, no, there was only 4 cameos.
Well, I mean, with like the Stay Puft Marshmallow and Slimer and you know, they had Bill Murray playing a character. Right.
I mean, I think that, I don't know, I loved the cameos because they were, other than Bill Murray's, even though I loved him as the character, his was a bit long, but the rest were really short and sweet.
Yeah.
So I was okay with that. Where, like, I'm okay with it being like, hey, you know, I need to get into this cab, take me over there. It's like, nope, I don't do ghosts.
Right.
Or something like, it was like, I don't do crazies, and I ain't afraid of no ghosts, and then drives away. I was like, that's a good...
Right.
Well, no, the actual actor was one of the original 4.
Right, okay.
Yes. So that's one. Then, of course, we have later on with the receptionist. That was the original receptionist, where she was just, like, really upset at them because she was on the phone. That's another one. And then, of course, Patty's uncle at the end was also... we had most of the Ghostbusters appear.
Right.
But you're right. With Slimer, that was a bit too much because it's like, guys, because this is a reboot, you're focusing too much on Slimer. Well, because here's the thing, right? I don't know if you know this, Tristan, but like in the cartoon, Slimer becomes an actual like friend of the Ghostbusters.
Right, yeah. Well, I knew,
like he chills
I never saw the cartoon, but like, yeah, I knew he was much bigger part of the cartoon in that sense. But
yeah, no, but the issue is that because this movie isn't a third one and it's a reboot, it kind of makes no sense that we're showing, like, again, you're supposed to be, like, because that's the issue, right? It felt like they were trying to, not the idea of serving masters, right? You have to serve two masters, right? The old fans and new fans that you want to come in. It felt like they were trying to focus only on new fans, which is not a problem to me. But then why are you including Slimer? Why are you including, like you said, Puffman? Like, just get them out of the movie, or don't include them as much because they aren't relevant. And it's not like we had a recent Ghostbusters cartoon to make them so relevant that it's like, oh, yes, of course you'd have them, or at least you'd have Slimer driving around for a lot, like, because look, when you see him in the earlier part and you just see him, like, eating stuff and then he leaves, even though he took the car, you're like, okay, we'll see you way, way, way later. But then you see him in that random scene in the middle, and I'm like, guys, like, just, we're good. And then he ties
him taking the car was fucking weird for me, at least.
It was funny, but it was weird. And then we have him tie into the end, and it's kind of like, all right, guys, like, the kids watching who you're trying to appeal to, or the other parts of the audience who may have never seen Ghostbusters, don't have no idea who the fuck Slimer is. They're like, who the fuck is this green ghost going around? So it's kind of like you got to go one way or the other. And personally, I would have just preferred, I think this movie would have been a little bit better if it tied into the Ghostbusters franchise by having Bill Murray be his original character, but still be a skeptic. And it's like, well, why are you a skeptic? And he's just like, it's, things are a bit bigger than you would think. And then that ties into, like, the Secret Service guys.
Right.
Where it's kind of just, because it's like, well, why are you denying? You were part of the original Ghostbusters. Guys, you don't understand what's going on here. But as far as I'm concerned, ghosts don't exist. And it's like, what? Like, that would be like Bill Murray betrayal, top 10 anime betrayals over here. You'd be like, what? And then you find out, oh, it's the service, and they're, you gotta, because to be fair, that government aspect, I thought that was very legitimate, like, compared to, like, the real world, where it's just like, hey, shit happens all the time. People just move on.
Yeah.
I mean, a little out there in the age of social media, but even in the age of social media, though, people focus on certain big issues, and they still continue, but the media doesn't talk about them, and then neither do the people paying attention. So to be fair, sadly, right?
Right, no, I did. That seemed to work at first, and then they kind of went, I don't know, they made them, like, they made even them comedic and then a little too stupid at the same time. Like, the mayor turned into this, like, big puppet and just, like, didn't know what the hell was going on. And then later on, they go back, like, at the end of the film, they go back, and it's like, oh, it's a huge cover-up. And it's like, well, how can you cover up? It's like, we all saw it. It's like, you can't just cover it up. Why are you trying to fake it? It's like, no, that's exactly what the government official would do. So it was, I don't know, that was all very weird for me. I thought it was interesting how they're like, look, we can't have you guys out in public because, you're going to create a panic. It's like, you know what? All right, that's kind of fair. When you have people shooting, these strange beam weapons out into mass crowds with some kind of entity floating about, that might cause a bit of panic. See, I thought the mayor would be like, look, you're going to drive, like, tourism down. We can't have that. That kind of shtick. But
I mean, well, once we get into the government, I feel like it'd be like, also, general, because let's be real, there would be a bit of mass hysteria unless we could assure people that there's, like, a ghost patrol, not just 4 people.
Right. And also the property
like, if there's
damage. But, like, that's something that's something the old films did, so I guess they weren't go that route, I guess.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because I think it makes it a bit, I think we laughed a little bit when we were like, of course it's property damage, all it's fucking about. So I feel like it's kind of like you have to make it bigger by bringing in the boys and the men in black.
Right, yeah.
Also, very odd,
like, they all know it's like, no, like, we get it, this is real, but we can't have you guys talking about it or bringing it, to the public eye because you're going to cause mass hysteria. So then you're going to make us look to be the bad guys afterwards, even though we're right, and something bigger is probably coming. Okay.
My problem is this, right? My problem is that apparently fucking Kate McKinnon's character has Sigourney Weaver as a mentor, but for some odd reason there's no like government force that has worked on this in the past. That's why it would have made so much more sense if it was in the same universe, because it's like, yeah, we know about this. Oh, so what have you done about it? Mostly nothing. Usually mixed in with nothing.
Right.
Well, because like I know that like in the first two movies, it also felt like, well, why is it only these four guys? And apparently, but I mean, the ghosts eventually did become more manageable, to be fair. So back to the whole like never in danger thing. The ghosts became a bit more manageable, but my whole thing is, it just felt so strange in this movie in 2016 when you bring in the government and they acknowledge that it exists. Apparently these four people are the only ones that have discovered something that could potentially put ghosts back into whatever realm they came from.
Right.
It's odd. It's rather odd. So I feel like it should have been tied in, and it would have made more sense. I mean, obviously, I don't know if it would have made sense if we had Aykroyd as a cab driver, but still, I feel like things would have made more sense if it was like an after Ghostbusters kind of movie. 30 years later, with them making cameos as themselves when needed. Not to take away from the main characters, because that's something I would hate the most, right? Is if they shined more than them in the movie. But I think rebooting it just didn't help because, again, right, you have people who, no matter what the movie is, if they hear the word reboot, they're turned off. Immediately switch the channel, don't care. So you have people who don't like reboots. You have people who are being, in my opinion, extremely, I don't know if unfair is the right word, because, again, you don't have to see the movie, but people that are being very, very, very hard-headed about, like, well, there's four women in the movie, I'm not watching it, which I don't think we have to cater to them. I don't think we had to have one guy as a competent member of the Ghostbusters. We don't have to cater to them, but we do have to acknowledge that they're going to exist, sadly. Mm-hmm. So they're going to take away from revenue streams for the film or just people generally watching the film. So it's like you have people who don't like the word reboot. You have people who are going to be like that. And then you have other people who, never wanted to see a Ghostbusters film in their life. So this isn't going to make them want to watch the Ghostbusters film, right? And again, they might also be in the same category as, oh, it's a reboot? Fuck it, I might as well just go see the original, right? Mm. So you have those three types of people. And then the fourth who are just like, they might be like you are with Star Wars. They're like, I'm a Ghostbusters fan. I'm going to stick this through. I love Ghostbusters. I'm going to love this, or I'm going to try to love this. I want to see it because it's Ghostbusters, right? And then they go and see it, and they're like, okay, so it is a true reboot. Like, because technically the Star Trek movie was a reboot, but they actually had cameos from some other cast members, and they acknowledged that it was a separate universe.
Right, separate universe. Right.
That was fucking amazing to me. Just a small cameo. I don't know, that wouldn't really work here necessarily, but having that Bill Murray cameo of just him saying, hey, listen, I retired from this because things are not what they used to be.
Right.
Okay. And then we focus on these four women and how they're, going to save the day. And Bill Murray's like, hey, you know what? I was wrong, but you guys did a pretty good job. And then just gets the fuck out of town. Mm. Okay, right? And I don't want him to be like an official, like on-screen mentor to them, because again, it takes away from them. He actually played a pretty good role as a dick. He's not bad at that character type, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then him dying, it just felt like a way to, like, I don't know, like, again, it's not like it wasn't funny necessarily, but it's just, again, you're like, oh, we do want some of the original nerds who liked Ghostbusters to watch this movie, right? Nah. Kill off Bill Murray. like I feel like that's a sin. Killing off
Yeah.
Bill Murray in a movie. I don't even know what movie
Right.
you're talking about, but any movie. I feel like that's a Hollywood sin. Like you don't kill Bill Murray. Bill Murray kills you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, of course, like I mentioned earlier, and I really want to hear how you feel about this, just them having to fight the Ghostbusters logo. Like, it just truly felt like, even though I know from my heart of hearts there is no animosity for the original film, it wouldn't make sense. But why are they going to fight the original logo? The original Ghostbusters did nothing wrong. The logo did nothing wrong.
Right.
Well, because it's not like the logo was just like, you know, I don't know. Like it's not like I look at that ghost and I'm like, shitty male ghost.
I
like
mean,
arguably, if it was a male ghost, then it would actually be anti-male ghosts. The original logo did nothing wrong.
yeah.
No, what I'm trying to say is there's nothing about the logo that's just like, we should attack this logo. So it's just so strange that the logo is what comes to life from this dude.
No. Yeah, I
he's-
mean, I think it was strictly the villain trying to use it against them, being like, oh, you want me to be something cute and friendly? Sure, I'll take on the form of your logo, and then I'll kill you.
Yeah, it's just not a good look. Do you know what I mean?
I mean,
I don't know.
I thought that was interesting, so I guess.
Can you imagine if the characters in Dragon Ball GT killed the Dragon Ball Z logo? Doesn't feel right.
I mean, they did, didn't they?
No, they just killed the franchise. Knee slapper. Anyway, they didn't kill the franchise. It's back in a super fucking tastic way. But anyway, so I'm just saying that, like, it's just such a strange thing. Because it's just, like, I don't know. Like, the movie did a very good job in trying to, in my opinion, trying to be funny, right? And having the, because I feel like there wasn't a weak link in the cast, really trying to focus on the cast again. There really wasn't a weak link. I loved Chris Hemsworth. I don't look at Chris Hemsworth and be like, really? So he's a man that's stupid? Really? It's like, no, guys, put it away. It's really, if he's funny, then that's okay, right? You can laugh at yourselves. And my God, is he really funny? Like, as that character?
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh.
And I can,
fucking,
I don't know,
yeah.
like, I could feel it. Like, Chris really loved doing that role.
It felt like he did. Like, I don't think he would.
It really
like, granted,
felt like
I don't know what his paycheck was, right? I don't know what any of their paychecks were, but I don't imagine that he would try to take this role and be like, and have to do this if he didn't like it. Like, I don't think he got paid so much money. Like, he didn't get Thor money for this. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If he did, then that's a difference speaking. Because believe me, if he got paid more than all four of them, either combined or just even one of the four of them, I'll admit that's awkward. Sure, he became the main villain at the end, but really he was just a vessel for the story. So, like, that would be weird.
Right.
I'll admit that would be weird.
But
as far as I know, it would. But as far as I know, he did not get paid any more than them. So, like, I think if he's going to come out and he's going to be this, you know, this character, he's doing it because he thought it was fun. And he thought it was really fun to be that dumb. Oh, one of my favorite lines in the movie, and I feel like I keep on coming up with more of these, was just, the hot dog signifies a ghost because it's floating. And fucking Melissa McCarthy's character is like, so I see that your work is more cerebral.
No, than anything else? Yeah. Oh,
and I fucking lost it. Cause it's not, because he actually, that was the most brilliant thing that he had said throughout the entire movie. Just, well, yeah, the floating hot dog signifies a ghost. Why wouldn't it? And I'm like, it's like when something is so stupid it starts to make sense.
Right.
It was just one of those moments. I was like, damn it, that's really good. But yeah, so Just, but talking about, because I see the villain on screen right now, talking more about him, I would have preferred a bit more about him and, maybe his relation to the characters, if maybe somehow in some strange way they went to school together and didn't know. Just something to tie him.
Like you had said, how he read their book and that's how he got, into finding out the ley lines to setting up his own, or like he was a genius too. Apparently, that's how he was able to build these machines to then open these portals for the ghosts to come through.
Yeah, people have said in the movie, like here and there. I mean, he claims to be a genius, but I think people have also said he's smart as well. So it's not like just he, like. I'm pretty sure it's canon that he's smart. It's just like one of those things where it feels odd that in a movie that – because when this movie isn't a reboot, we then acknowledge that other people in the universe have done this before. But when it's a reboot, we have to sit back and be like, only 2 to 3 people, because Patty, she doesn't count in terms of making the machinery, but 2 or 3 of these people have been able to make these machines, and apparently – so can this fucker.
Right.
Bum. Like, it's like, wait, what? But why can he do this? Because, again, in a superhero movie with superheroes and supervillains, we don't question that shit. We don't sit there and be like, but how is he that smart? It's like, because he fell into a radioactive vat of shut the fuck up. So it's what he did. You okay, Tristan?
Yeah, no.
You were not expecting that, were you?
You fell into a vat of radioactive shut the fuck up. I want that printed on a shirt, god damn it. Oh, God.
We have to print it ourselves. Some of those sites don't like to print the F word, which is fucking bullshit, which will also be printed on a shirt.
Oh, God.
But but back to what I was saying, Tristan.
It would have been nice if he had acknowledged them and been like, "Oh, I followed your work, and like I believed you, and I really thought that you were, you are as talented and gifted as you think. You should join me. Like we could get back at all these people that have called you, names and mocked you all this time. We could show them that it's all real." And he kind of had none of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's been done a lot, but at the same time, it kind of would have really fit here.
Well, it's funny. It's been done a lot, but when you do the movie this way with this kind of character, what else is he going to say? Like, like I was ostracized all my life, although I will admit I fucked every woman I've ever known. But other than that, and having a bunch of friends in high school, and also really being drawn to your book because I feel like your work really gets into the depth of why we're really here. But other than that, I've been ostracized my entire life. Like, no, like he had this backstory that all he had to say was, I want to be just like you. And it's like, oh, idol worship, got it.
Right. And then they're just like, no, it's okay. It's like, oh, right, reason to live. Come on, guys, help me out here. Oh, well, that didn't work. The cops are on their way. Oh, well, in that case, it was like, all right. So apparently we're not afraid to kill people in this movie. But
yeah. But it was just the thing.
It's like, and then Hofstra, where I can't remember the name correctly, but like she just turns the machine off, and it's like, no, we're good. He's not though. He's totally dead. It's like, and we're all surprisingly fine with this. I mean, I know he was a nut job, but like, guys.
Yeah, the movie took a strange turn with death, where it was just like, we can't kill anyone, but the second they killed Murray, it seems like the Ghostbusters got a taste for blood, and we're just fine with continuing. Yeah, no, that's why I said they were the true bad guys of the movie. Just got a taste for blood and continued on with their wanton slaughter of the New York natives. So all jokes aside, right, there's one thing that you mentioned to me before we began the podcast that I agree with 100%. So, first off, when you and I saw the after credits scenes, I think you and I both had the same response. Mine was I got chills because I was like, I know maybe some people probably, they were, if you didn't like the movie, I'm talking about you in general, not you, Tristan. If you didn't like the movie, you probably would have heard the Zool line and been like, ugh, right? You would have groaned like Zool did, actually. You would have groaned like Zool. For me, I got chills because I was like, I want to see them meet Zool. Like, I want to see them fuck up Zool's shit, right? Now, you mentioned, though, like Leslie Jones hearing Zool, or Patty hearing Zool, you mentioned that what if this guy was a pawn and was basically kind of like in the first movie with, oh God, I can't believe I forgot his actor's name, with, he was like, I am the gatekeeper, I am the key master.
Exactly. Yeah, right.
That would make more sense.
Like. And then we never had an overarching, like, there was no big baddie as the mastermind behind everything. It was just him. But when they dropped that Zool line, it's like, oh, so that makes sense now. But it doesn't make sense until the after credit scene, which is kind of a problem. And
that's the problem with.
Anyway.
Yes, and that just kind of, has us go into a bit of a small rant. It's not a long rant, but about the issue with movies today, where for all, even though
Matt's going to talk about how movies have to have sequels and how it's bad.
Yes, because even though I get that this movie didn't have to be like 2.5 hours long, but what if they just added and synchronized. But what if we had an additional? No, you're right though. But what if we had an additional 20 minutes, and that would have been the end with Zool? What if we had little bits of Zool references throughout the movie, adding on to that extra 20 minutes, and then at that end, instead of it having him be the master villain, it would be Zool, and he could escape for a sequel. I'm not saying we can't have sequel bait here, but to try to say, oh, we're going to have this guy be the precursor to Zool and maybe have it tie in. Although, to be fair, having him tie in, that's our speculation. But it's just a big issue because if it does tie in, if this guy is related to Zool at all, then, frankly, it feels like you just took what could have been one movie and split it into two and then padded it up with humor instead of backstory. And even though, this reminds me a little bit, even though we did have a main villain in it, it reminds me of Jurassic World, which we already talked about a few weeks ago, or more, potentially, when this is coming out on Friday Night Movies. Where we talked about Jurassic World, and even though there was a big villain in there, to be fair, it felt like we knew nothing about Owen. And apparently, looking at some trailers, we're going to know more about him in the sequel. Isn't that fucking amazing? We had to wait 4 years to learn about the fucking main character in one movie. Why? If it's a comic book character, I get it. If I want to know more about him, I can read 60 years' worth of material, of supplementary material. But when it's a movie, and this is the first time we're meeting these characters, because these 4 characters, one thing I'll give them as in the creators of this movie, the writers and the directors, it doesn't seem like they wanted to copy-paste the 4 character types from the first movie, or the second one, of course.
Yeah.
So I have to say, that was great, where they tried to make them their own people. However, again, like I said earlier, a bit of an issue that they all, mostly, 3 out of 4, were wacky in some way or another. Even Leslie Jones getting in on the wackiness. And it was kind of just like, all right, guys, we need to calm this down here a little bit. But one thing I wanted to say, though, is that, okay, so, because I'm trying to think of what we haven't touched upon here. It would have been best if either Zool appeared or we got some other Zool tie-in, or if this guy is tied into Zool, well, then if there's never a sequel, good fucking job.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because that's like, you can't just assume, like, don't worry, we'll get this in the sequel. Yeah, well, that worked out really well with Fantastic Four 2015, fucking didn't it? Feel like Fox and Sony are just high-fiving each other, like, we're going to make sequels one day. Marvel's like, you petty children. You will learn, right? Like, you will learn, and just fucking
pay
go sweet
for your lack of vision.
Oh God!
Now, young Skywalker, you will die.
Yeah, pretty much.
Lightning.
Good God. Oh, now I remember what I wanted to mention. You were talking about how it felt like the CIA agents, the government men in black, you thought they were a bit stupid. I don't think that they are as stupid as, and this is just in the film, not in real life, the NYPD. The NYPD, who just let them go after Bill Murray's corpse is fucking laying on the grounds of New York City.
That too.
That's my big issue, because at least with the CIA agents, they were just like, well, we're going to shoot at him. Actually, I'm a ghost. I can control you. Ah, shit. Like, they couldn't do anything compared to the ghostly power of Ghost, right? Like,
yeah, well,
you can't do
it
anything
wasn't
compared to that.
That really bothered me about them. It was more their dialogue and the whole bit with the mayor.
Okay. I mean,
but, yeah.
I don't know if that's stupid. It's just hubris. Which,
I mean,
let's be honest, are we going to say that the government or anyone in government is humble and does not have any hubris?
No, yeah.
I mean, that as a whole.
I get that. But, like, I mean, it was even how, I think you mentioned it before, they didn't seem to have, it's like, oh, we have government people working on this. Oh, okay, so then how do you plan to stop this? We don't.
You're right. It didn't seem like there was a task force. They were just like,
right.
leave it in the hands of the boys and, the big boys and the big brass department boys,
yeah.
Men in Black.
It just felt like it felt like a big, top brass joke, but the top brass really didn't have anything.
That I'll give you 100%. Actually, yeah, maybe they did, but they didn't really delve into it. So to us, it looks like there's nothing.
Right. So
that I'll give you, yes, but I don't think it's stupid necessarily. Like, because when I think of, these guys look like clumsy oafs, I think of, them actually tripping over each other, making jokes. And they didn't really do that here. They just kind of faded away until the end of the movie. But, yeah, one thing I want to mention, too, is don't die. I hear him coughing in the background. Don't die. Your cat needs you. But that sucks. Possess the cat. Thought it'd be a very interesting podcast. But, yeah, I didn't hate the movie. I know it sounds like, we're constantly complaining, but actually I gotta admit, the plot, one thing, because I didn't dislike the plot. You thought the cuts, though, between every scene, you thought they were too quick, or that they didn't, did you think they didn't, like, so what do you mean by that? Like, they didn't transition into each other, or they just felt, like, what about it? Because I never really hear you say that, so I actually want to hear, like, what your opinion on it is. Like, because I made a joke with you, everybody. I texted him. I was like, it needs the Star Wars cuts, just the wave.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But that would have been perfect, because it gives you those few seconds in between each scene to be like, your brain, resets, and it's like, oh, okay, we're in a different scene now. In this, it was just cuts immediately to the next scene. And some of them it was okay, but some of them just felt like, wait, we're moving on now. All right.
Okay, so what I think you're saying is, because here's the thing, I feel like a lot of movies do that visually, but I think what you're saying, or what's coming across here is, and tell me if I'm wrong, it's the fact that the dialogue didn't suggest that the scene ended.
Not always, yeah.
Because visually they cut from one scene to another all the time. Like, not every scene has to have some, like, Star Wars type transition to make you be like, we're moving on.
Maybe I'm just used to that, Matt.
No one cares. So I'm just saying that
all right.
We're rolling up the sleeves? Yeah.
We'll roll up the sleeves. Get your proton pack. Let's fucking do this.
Don't cross the streams, said the two guys who were about to cross the streams.
Well, we'll see what happens. Whoever is left standing after the nuclear explosion, then that's the winner of the argument.
I love that too, by the way. Like, what are we going to do? We're going to put something into the rift and have it explode with a nuke. Pacific Rim, hold my Jaeger.
Oh, God. No, now I'm just imagining the Jaegers with the one of the other weapons that she engineered that was basically just the punching glove, but just big and on a Jaeger, and just punches the freaking ghost, the logo ghost at the end of the movie. It's a Jaeger fighting it and trying to trap it in a giant trap.
Melissa McCarthy in a Jaeger would be the fucking coolest thing.
Oh shit.
Well, that's power. That's you can control it by yourself. Fuck yeah, I can. Just fucking knocking out her and Kristen Wiig just in the drift. That'd be weird.
I'm
all for it.
Oh god. I do not think any of them would be drift compatible.
This is going to be the, what's it called? This is going to be like the big crossover. We already talked about it. It's Godzilla, it's Cloverfield, it's fucking, it's Godzilla, Cloverfield, it's Pacific Rim, it's Jurassic World / Park, and now it's going to be Ghostbusters.
Now Ghostbusters. Oh god.
We're gonna have Puffman trying to not get literally melted by Godzilla's atomic breath. While the Cloverfield monster is swiping them both, and there's just a Jaeger sitting back like, what the fuck is all of this?
I don't know which one to punch.
I might as well punch myself. I'm just so confused.
I need to hit all of them. I don't have enough arms. Even the Chinese Jaeger doesn't have enough arms for this shit.
In the sequel, they're gonna have enough arms. But anyway, so as we're wrapping this up, I think we needed some more backstory on that villain. We're not done with this because he definitely felt like he was a secondary villain that got promoted. And
to top villain status without the substance to follow.
And even then, I mean, I will admit though, him being promoted to Ghost, in this case is a promotion, not a death, not a demotion, that was actually really cool. I think he needed to be a ghost because as a human, he couldn't do shit against them.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so in that regard, I was a huge fan. I don't know how I felt about them transitioning his actor, because even though I love Hemsworth, and it was a twist to have him be the bad guy, for him not to die or sacrifice himself and to kind of be just okay at the end, it felt very much like, it just felt very odd, right, for everything to just be A-okay. No, our hair is gray, but we're still the same age we should be, although that would happen if you fucking go into like a weird ghost rift. I imagine your hair would go gray. But apparently there's no weird side effects. They're feeling just fine. They're not any older.
Right.
They're doing good. They're doing just fine.
No, it's fine. You've only been gone a few seconds. It's 2024.
So
our president is a plant. Wait, what?
It's 2044.
It's only been a few seconds.
No.
Oh, 2044.
Yeah, it was 2040.
Okay.
That was so funny. So one thing though is the CGI. You and I mentioned it over the phone before the podcast. Personally, I don't dislike the CGI until they started making ghosts physical, because it was so strange. I was like, that doesn't look so bad. That looks like something out of a video game. Matt, you're watching a real-life movie. This is not an anime. Oh, no. Like, I had to remind myself, like, I'm not watching an anime with 3D models. I'm watching a movie.
This isn't one of my Japanese animes?
Yeah. That's or a video game either. So because of that, I feel like when they made any of the ghosts have like a physical form, like the one when the villain was like, "Oh, let's welcome to New York. Let's bring back old New York," and it was the guy on stilts. That was not good. CG. That was not good. However,
I mean,
the ghost.
It's funny. Well, okay, yeah, you go, and then I'll throw in mine.
I just think that the hollow ghosts, or like a little bit hollowed out, they always look the best because there's an idea, like even if they're designed, someone goes, it's too cartoony. It's not like Slimer was fucking, was Renaissance art. Like, Slimer is cartoony, but making him more, at least in the first movies, making him a lot more see-through was a bit easier on the eyes and easier to acknowledge that, hey, this is CG, but you quote-unquote exist, versus making them full rendered solid models. Also, though, I would like to mention the the stop motion they did for the mannequin, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was like some weird stop motion CGI mix, and I loved it.
Right.
Because just literally Leslie Jones that's a room full of horrors. That's a house of horrors. Nope, not going in there. And I'm like, that's real.
Yeah, that was great. Because as soon as she walked into the room with mannequins, I'm just like, "Hi, Doctor Who." I just imagine seeing 9 running through the building, like, "Run!"
So she's like, "Nope." She walks out and she's like, "Was that there before?"
Nope.
Which is a dumb line when you literally just walked. Yeah, but still, when you walked right past that literal like hallway, and you're like, "Was that there before?" I'm like, "Dude, are you really?" But then it starts running. She's like, "Don't answer that." It starts running. I said not to answer. Also, the jump when she runs into the room, closes the door, you think, "Oh yeah, it's gonna bang on it," and immediately the foot goes right through. I was like, "Okay, this is cool. I like this." Right? That was beautiful. But I wasn't a big fan of when the CG, like even with the balloons at least, the balloons were meant to be balloons so they can be a bit more odd. But when the ghosts got more like tangible as the film went on in some respects, to me it didn't work as well. But what's your take on it?
The ghosts for me were okay. I do agree kind of like, I mean, they kind of tried to play off the whole fact of like, oh, they're more ionized, so they have like more of a physical representation in our realm. But yeah, I agree. The more like phasing in and out kind of feels more ghostly and it's kind of more eerie. I like that too. But it wasn't really the ghosts that did it. Like made me look at this because made me look at the CG in some scenes and go, ooh, I don't really like that. There were some scenes where there's 2 that I think of like right off the bat. When the 2 girls are flying back through as they're being pulled out of the portal by they're pulling them out on the wire that she put herself to save her friend. When they come flying through the doors again, like that effect, I'm like, that looked weird.
That's fair.
And then there was one, I think it was in one of the fights they were doing. Oh, when Patty uses the ghost chipper on one of them and the ectoplasm comes out the other end and it almost hits Abby because she jumps out of the way. It's like you can really tell that the ooze is not there. And she's like, "Oh, you missed me." And it's like, yeah, because it's not fucking real. And it was a minor background thing, but it really took me out because I looked at it and I'm like, that is really noticeable, guys.
Yes. Also, because you're so close to the screen too. Like watching this on your computer, your television. One thing I want to mention, though, something that I thought was beautiful, and it was very, 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 very low tech, but it actually harkens to something they did in the first movie. So that's why I say some stuff in this felt like a kind of like labor of love thing. Did you notice at the end of the film, the background when they're actually in the hotel? Like the background as in like when you see their faces and you look behind them outside?
Oh, yeah, and everybody's doing the pose in the background?
Yeah, none of that was real. Like that was I mean, when I say real, I mean like those weren't like CGI people. Like that was a set. The same way in the first movie when they had like the background of New York painted.
Yeah. Right.
They were painted on.
Right. Okay.
How cool is that, right? Like you have the sirens there to make it look like they're actually there, but when you sit back and you pause it or even just notice it for a while, you're like, wait a minute, those aren't actually like people, like CGI to stand there, like when they're actually standing there earlier in the film and they're kind of just, although even then they were practical, like when they were standing there, and I was like, oh wow, you guys are really not moving. Good for you. But it's not like it was a picture taken or anything.
Tough.
They were. Yeah, that shit is tough. But it was painted on. So I was like, wow, that's actually really cool. So that's something that I was like, I know low tech, but again, it's another thing too, right? Like people, like kids of the 80s, might be like, oh, wow, that's cool. But would kids watching it in 2016 be like, oh, that's really cool?
I mean, I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
if you get the right people, they would. If you get the right
You're
kids,
right.
they would.
You're right. I know, you're right.
Yeah, I get what you mean, yeah.
Yeah. So again, like I feel like it's a whole thing where they did care, right, about the original movie, and they were, maybe thinking, oh, would a nerd like to see this, or rather, we're a nerd that would like to see this. But then in other respects, it's kind of like, who really wants to see Bill Murray die in a movie? Does anyone really? Like, I'm sure there are some people that felt like it really took them out of the movie to be like, this is from my childhood. I really enjoyed Bill Murray in the first movie. He died. Okay. Sure, he was being a dick, but holy shit.
Yeah. Like, I feel like it
he
could have been, like, he got hospitalized. Like, that would have been okay, but, like, no, we just straight up killed him.
Because, like, there's just something about him, because if he was a bit more of a dick, like, he could have been a bit more, and I could have been like, yeah, dude, we got to kill you.
Right.
No, he could have been. Like, you know what? Like, granted, he was super passive-aggressive, and I didn't like him. And, frankly, him getting thrown out of a window was, like, I get it. Like, he was being such a dick. I'm like, yeah, get thrown out of a window. That's fine. But death?
Right,
That's
yeah.
a heavy sentence.
Like, whew. Right.
Yeah. So it was not.
That's why I feel
again,
like
it's
they
not
could have
just
made it like a joke, like, oh, like him being carted away in a, in an ambulance. It's like, oh, you haven't heard the last of me. I'm gonna sue the pants off of you, and like that could have been a threat. It's like, we can't worry about that right now.
Also, I mean, yeah, bigger threat of being sued than being fucking jailed for murder that we just don't talk about. Right.
Because the Men in Black are here. We have bigger things to talk about. It's like no, we have them on charges of murder.
I mean, believe me, if we're just gonna hand wave that they covered it up, the government covered it up, that's fair. Oh, he fell out the window. Okay, no, I'll take it. It's just it wasn't mentioned. Right. Also, how did you feel about them shooting him in the dick? I feel like that should be mentioned before we wrap up.
I don't know how to feel about that.
It's just rather odd. It's just rather odd, that's all.
It's like,
well, because, like...
I mean, it didn't feel out of place for the humor of the movie because there were plenty of, jokes like that, so I get it. But I don't know. I don't know.
Like, it feels like...
I don't know how to comment on that.
Yeah. Well, because it's just so strange. Because, again, like, I feel like they just want to... Because, like, there's certain jokes that I'm like, yes. Like, again, the idea of, like, Chris Hemsworth being dumb. It's just like, I can laugh at, like, us. Like, I don't have to sit there and just be like, no, we're men. That's just wrong, right? But it just feels odd, like, we're going to shoot him in the dick. Yeah, men,
like, that's
take it
obviously
in the dick.
His weakness. It's like, it's a ghost. Does that still work that way? Right, apparently it does. Like,
I mean, I don't think I'll ever know, and I don't want to know.
When what was her line? When they're like, what form would you like me to take? Oh, something solid, perhaps, or a bullseye would be good. Or when Abby screams out, "Come on, so and so, come claim your virginity back out of the lost and found." Like, I have to admit, I lost it at that one. Because
it's funny. I didn't like that one because I was just like, because it's weird. Because one of those things where it's just like, the reason why I didn't like it isn't because of like, as a man, it's more so like, I'm just not a fan of those jokes across the board. Like, I wouldn't be a fan if someone said that joke to a woman, even if it wasn't just slut shaming. If it was just saying like, haha, virgin, it just feels like, look, you know what it is, dude? We got the fart jokes, but I still feel like those are just generally acceptable because no one's shaming other people for farting in that case.
Right, yeah.
So that's the whole thing for me. It's just kind of a shaming thing where I'm just like, really? Like, in 2016 we made that joke? And then his retort was even shittier, I would argue, with the whole, like, you shoot like a girl. Because it was kind of just like, but it was like one of those, like, really dumb retorts, like grade school level, that I only laughed because it was so dumb. Like, it was the dumbest thing anyone could say about anyone.
Right.
Like, like you shoot like girls, just like, and to be fair, of course, this dude had some sexist, chauvinistic tendencies, like when he said like, oh, women always late, trying to decide which jumpsuit to wear, and I'm just
right,
like,
yeah.
oh, fuck you harder than you're already getting fucked because you're dead. Like you already been fucked really badly. The fact that you're dead.
So like they
kind of
yeah.
And the thing is, again, like I don't feel like we have to look at his character and be like, this is how they think about all men, because I feel like that's, again, a bad thing to do. I don't think that's a good, I'm not a fan of trying to get on that bandwagon. It's just the idea, though, that, why did we have to question his virginity? That was odd, right?
Yeah.
Granted, it did come from Abby. She would say some shit like that. It was in character.
Right. Yeah,
right?
But I guess that's why I found it, like you just said, it felt in character. I don't know.
Yes.
Now I feel
you're
bad.
absolutely right. It did.
Now I feel like I have to apologize, man.
No. The only thing, what I think is the most unbelievable part of the movie? Who the fuck threw another sandwich at him? Who just had a sandwich prepared?
Right.
Who just...
You, little help there. And I shit you not, I'm pretty sure it was a different fucking sandwich.
Me too.
I don't think it was
like...
the same sandwich. It did not look like
different.
the same sandwich. It looked like
not.
he had, like, I don't know, like ham and Swiss or something, like something thin sliced and whatever, the bread was neat, and then somebody threw him, like, tuna casserole or some shit.
All right, first off, we're showing, because everything that you said about that sandwich, I was like, as a sandwich connoisseur, it did look like that. Like, we really got to stop going to delis. Anyway, we frequent delis too much, clearly. At least I do, because I was like, as your backup commentator on sandwiches, you were correct, Tristan Walter.
Oh my God.
Anyway, something interesting about the newscasters. I know you noticed Al Roker at the end on the Today Show. But the first two on Fox 5 were actual New York, newscasters or news reporters. So they were real, like they were just playing themselves, which many movies usually do. But it's funny when they do because you're sitting there and you're like, wow, I see them. Like, because my family watches, Fox 5 every day. So I'm not really watching. I'm usually waiting until one of them says, I have to take a shower, and then I mute it for 30 minutes, and I'm happy. But nothing against them. It's just, you don't know, because here's the thing, right? It's nothing against them. It's just that if you don't know Tristan, if you don't really, watch the news a lot, at least the way the news is, this channel structures it, they do certain stories at 6, and if there aren't breaking news, they're the same stories at 7 and at 8.
Oh, okay. I see.
So you're learning the same thing for 3 hours, unless it's a different news reporter, so then they're maybe giving a spin on it, or maybe they bring on a different guest to talk about something new, like something new in the iPhone world or whatever it might be. But if it's not that, then it's the same piece of news reported for 3 full fucking hours. So at hour 2, when people in my house are like, yeah, can't watch the news, I'm getting ready, I mute that shit readily.
Right.
Readily mute that shit. Yeah, it's like, I don't need to hear this again in a different tone by a different person.
Yeah.
So, yes. So anyway, but the two on the screen were Greg Kelly and I think Rosanna Scotto. Kelly left last year or so it's interesting to see him. It's like, wow, it's like a time capsule. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like, it would be the same thing where, if we... Because I don't think the original Ghostbusters had actual reporters. No, I think they had Larry King. Did they? Did Ghostbusters 1 or 2 have Larry King? Or am I wrong? I know we saw one movie with Larry King in it. It was not Pacific Rim. We had a CNN host on the second Jurassic Park, I think.
Right.
Something we should mention, by the way, we've completely not mentioned the Chinese place that always gets their food wrong. That has a brown gentleman bringing them their food as a delivery guy. Very interesting, and who never gives them the right amount of wontons, to the point where at the end of the movie, she's just like, I just want a regular amount of wontons related to broth.
Oh, God.
Yes.
This is just madness. That was hilarious.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I'll give him that. It's like, you know what? You built that joke up. I'll give you that one.
Yes, they did it throughout the entire movie. So you know what?
Oh.
Kudos to them for that. That guy kept on making cameos. Kept on making like little tiny. Good for them.
Right.
You did it throughout the entire movie. You built that one up. Good for you. But the one thing I have to say, right, for anyone out there that's just like is still on that SJW thing, still on that whole diversity, coming from people like you and I, Tristan, I don't know about you, but my thought was, if this movie is so diverse and like, oh no, it's so diverse, we have 3 white women and 1 African-American woman. We don't have even one person who just happens to be even half Hispanic. Really?
Considering we're in New York City, yeah.
Yeah, fucking New York. Yeah. Oh, I guess we don't have any Hispanic people in New York. Yeah, hola. So we don't have not even one.
I don't know why I'm laughing so much at that.
Because it's the unexpected. But
I guess.
But no, but it's just I don't know, man. Like I just personally feel as if we have so much. It's, again, this movie's being called out like, oh, it's so diverse and everything. It's like not really. Like just because it is woman does not mean that it is diverse. Right? It's when you say, like the new Star Wars that came out, right? I haven't seen it, but there is an Asian female character in the film.
Yes.
That's diversity. Not the only way to talk about diversity, of course, because, again, having women in the film is diversity as well. But it's just kind of one of those things where it's just like having a female Asian character, not the lead, sure, but a female Asian character, that's diversity because there is not a lot of Asian representation in media. And then when there happens to be, it's always like, great. And you also know Kung Fu, by the way. And it's like, I'm a chef. This is a movie about cooking. Yes, but you also know Kung Fu. Do I fight anybody? No, but you say it audibly at a bunch of different times. I don't like this. Also, I know it's a movie about being a pastry chef, but you make really good dumplings. I don't like any of this. It's shit like that happens, right, in these movies. So to try to be like, this movie was way too diverse because woman, it's like, not really. You know?
Right.
I mean, like, it's always strange, because even with Hemsworth, right? I mean, he's Australian, yes, which, by the way, did they even try to hide his accent? I feel like they didn't. Like, I feel like he tried it first, where he's like, I'm just a man, it's just me. And then by the end of the movie, he's just like, oh, women, also, I'm Thor. And it's like, yes, you are, Chris Hemsworth.
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, I see.
Like, it felt like as the film progressed, he was not American.
Right. I feel like it was just for that, I don't know, maybe it was just like while he was quote-unquote doing the interview, and then he just reverts back to just being himself.
I don't know, because I think it just depends on the scene. Like, depending on the scene, it's just like, you're not American, depending on the scene. Some scenes, it was like, okay, you're trying, I see it. In other ones, it was like, nope. You are from, which granted, again, in New York, like I wouldn't be surprised if he gentrified an area. So really, it's actually very real to have him in New York. But like we just said, though, just as we're kind of wrapping this up for anyone that's still on that whole SJW bandwagon thing, it's actually not as diverse as it could have been. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for you, right? For some of these people. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing for them, Tristan. But it's not as diverse as people might think, right? Just because it's, it's literally the same makeup other than, just being all women as the first movie was. And in 2016, just to say, because that's the thing too, by the way, like there are people out there that, it's not like this movie to the general public was like, oh, women are in it, I have to go see it. Like that's not how people work. They're just like, oh, Kate McKinnon is in it. Oh, Kristen Wiig. Oh, Melissa McCarthy. So it could have drawn in those crowds, right? Leslie Jones crowd as well. Leslie Jones is a great actress. But like Leslie crowd, those crowds, or of course the Chris Hemsworth fans as well. But it's not so much that it was just like, oh, women, we have to go see it. Because that's not what really, as people know, at least they should know, that's not what makes the movie. It's not, it's just because women are in it. It's because of everything surrounding it. And frankly, after seeing the movie, I do think I would own it. I think I would own it. I think I'd play
Yeah.
a game with these characters, you know? I think I'd go see a sequel, but of course the question becomes, would you go see it in theaters? And if it has Zool, I think I would. But,
I mean, that was...
I don't know.
Right. That was the thing for me. It's like, I didn't... You know, this movie was definitely still enjoyable. Like, but that's the thing. I probably wouldn't pay the movie ticket to go see it. You know,
And that's the thing,
this
too,
would be
right?
the
Like,
one that's like, I'll wait till it's on, you know, TV or whatever.
and tickets are expensive. I don't know about you guys
Yeah.
out there throughout the U.S., throughout the world, but for you and I, Tristan, to pay for one ticket, it could be $13 to $19 per person before any
depending
snacks.
on where you go to see it. Yeah.
Yeah, like I have to go to like a Tuesday theater at like Jamaica to freaking get like an $8 ticket, and Tuesday matinee, and I'm like, I'm in, right? But other than that, you're usually paying like 13 to 19, even more depending on where you go. If you're like, oh, I want to see it in 3D, which I wouldn't want to see this movie in 3D, but it does exist, this movie in 3D. So like, I think it did anyway. So it's kind of one of those situations where, you know, I don't know. I just didn't get the whole slamming this movie for diversity. And, of course, that's just not where I'm coming from in general, but, like, just, I don't know, like, I get it if people are huge Ghostbusters fans and they felt like they weren't being given what they originally wanted, because even though those Ghostbusters fans don't own the movie, they don't own the intellectual property, they don't own the franchise, they still know what they wanted, and that's regardless of gender, right?
Right.
Because there's a lot of Star Wars. I mean, your mom's a Star Wars fan. Just tying up to Star Wars for a reason I'll explain in a second. But like, your mom's a Star Wars fan, but like, I don't know about her personally, but I'm talking about you personally, Tristan. You know, I don't know how you'd feel if you were waiting for like episode 9 or 10. You were waiting years for episode 9 or 10, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you heard there was going to be a remake, a reboot of episode 4 with an all-female cast, and instead of Princess Leia, it would be Prince something. You'd be like, okay, it's Star Wars, and it's directors and writers that I know, so I'm going to want to see it, but
yeah,
why do they
right.
have to go back and redo episode 4?
Episode 4, right. Yeah, that would be very confusing.
Yeah. Now, I know Star Wars is much longer history than Ghostbusters has had, right? Much longer universe. Although, to be fair, Ghostbusters does have comic books as well, and the video game, I think, in 2008 worked as kind of like a movie 3, sort of. So it kind of worked as a sequel, an unofficial sequel. So, but still, you understand where I'm coming from, though. So, like, and I think people need to understand that, right? Like, some people were truly being sexist, and that sucks. But some other people were like, hey, man, I grew up, or hey, woman, you know, I grew up with, hey, person, I grew up with this, and they held it really close to their heart, alongside other movies from their childhood. So it just felt odd to have a full-on reboot, not a sequel, but a full-on reboot with a cast of people that they may or may not know, and then they don't really get the same characters that they grew up with, and they'll never get them again, from the looks of it. And then some of the characters that were in the movie, I don't know if some of them went on to actually see the movie, but if they did, then the characters that they're like, hey, so-and-so made a cameo. Horrific death. Fatality. Like, who wins when Bill Murray dies? Who won?
Right.
I don't know. I'm still stuck on that. But you see what I mean, though, right? I don't know who wins after that. Anyway, so we're going to get Zool in a sequel that may never happen, but I kind of want to happen. I do want to see it. I want to see this more than I want to see a sequel to, like, the Death Note movie or the Fullmetal Alchemist movie.
Oh, my gosh.
So, you okay there, Tristan? Just did it sink in for you? You
Possibly.
good? He's rocking himself back and forth. You okay?
Yes, Matt. I'm fine.
Oh, God damn it. Not again.
Have some sun possession this week, damn it.
Jesus, stop going inside of Tristan. As I say that out loud, they're like, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe we will stop.
Funny.
But,
I tell you to repeat
what?
that sentence, but slowly, but I'd really rather you didn't.
There's Flat Earth Society members all around the globe. Anyway, I love that one. But anyway, so as we truly wrap this up, though, is there anything else you want to say about the movie? Maybe you want to say about the controversy. I know you don't agree with it, but like, do you see you don't see where the sexism was coming from, but like, do you see where the controversy was coming from? Do you really do you think people? Because I don't know if people should go see a movie and spend their money on it, but do you think some people were kind of being very much like whiny? Because I don't know how to feel about it. Because we don't have to talk about the movie anymore unless there's really something about it you want to jump in about.
I mean, I can get why people may have been upset or miffed, like waiting so long for a new movie and then getting this. But yeah, I feel like there was kind of too much hate for the cast, and it's like, no, they were really they did a great job. Like, they definitely had one-liners that made me laugh, like really laugh. Granted, not all of the humor was to my taste, but yeah. So, personally, I wouldn't have bought the ticket to go see it in theaters, but that doesn't mean I think it was a terrible movie either. So. Right.
And another thing, too, I think, as well, is that, it's strange because then you have people start talking about stuff like soft sexism and, it felt like people were trying to say, you couldn't even dislike the movie. Not everyone, though. That's the problem, too, is that with the Internet, all of a sudden it's like one person wrote one article. That means every feminist believes this, right? Or you have a few people who are like, I don't like the movie because vagina. And then because of that, all of a sudden, if someone said, I feel weird about the pacing or the shots, like you did, some people would be like, see? Sexism. So it became this huge thing where really it should have just been a movie about 4 women Ghostbusters in New York ghostbusting.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think that's the silliest thing, by the way. I don't know what small town some of these people might live in, but Tristan, as someone who lives in Long Island, which is a part of New York, but not, I don't want to say it's just New York, right? But when you come to, New York City, I know you don't know the people walking around New York City just like I don't, but I think if someone says, 4 women who know each other in New York, who know science, unbelievable. It's kind of like, what small town do you live in?
Right.
It doesn't seem that odd when you're actually walking around. It seems believable when you're walking around New York. You're like, yes, those 4 women over there could be scientists. Or not. Whichever. It's a movie. Whichever. No, because I feel like some people are just like, it just is so unrealistic. The ghosts, fair. Slimer, fair. Ooze, fair. But women? I don't know, man. It's kind of like, what? Women in jumpsuits? I don't know, man. It's quite odd. But still, not everyone has to find the movie funny. Again, like I said, I feel like it was funny, but it was way too much. It needed to settle itself down a little bit. But, I think that, I don't know, I think a lot of people just kind of fell in the middle who did watch it and who weren't, trolling online for whatever side you want to claim is online that's trolling for. So whatever happened there, I think you just had people like us that were like, that was not the worst movie. But it definitely wasn't, number 1 hit of the year. But strangely enough, though, I think I mentioned this on the show already, but if I'm not, I'll close it out on these numbers. The movie made, its budget was $144 million. And the movie made $229.1 million. So to you and I, Tristan, that's a fuck ton of money. That's a lot of money. But because of the promotion materials, because of, I'm just like the money to promote it either online or on, I don't know if they had something in Times Square itself. It would be fun if it did because they had that scene in Times Square. But because of all these, all the money it takes to promote something, you end up sitting back and looking at that $144 million, and it's actually a bit more than that. So then making $229 million, it's just something that's a problem with Hollywood as a whole, with a lot of these big budget movies, where it's just like, we spent $500 million and we made $505 million, and you're like, wow, you made $505 million, and it's like, I know, it's one of the biggest flops our company has ever had. Like, what? So I'm not saying we have to pay actors less or pay other people in the business less. I'm just saying that there's problems here, right? There are some severe problems. If this movie, on record, is the best comedy, like in terms of grossing comedy, right? So not just popularity, just in terms of money. The best comedy in 2016, yet it's still a big flop for Sony at $229 million.
Right.
Something was done wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was making the movie overall, right? Because what are you going to, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I love Bill Murray, but, like, were we really going to have him as a Ghostbuster along with the rest of them now? Like, as mentors, yes, but when you wait that long, I don't think we're going to have, like, a coming out of retirement and have them all, maybe for one last hurrah, but even then, that's, I don't know. Like, it's funny because I'm not even, it's now people are going to, like, murder me. I'm going to get death threats. I'm just saying that, like, waiting this long, like, they should have done a Ghostbusters movie in the 2000s, right, in the 90s or in the 2000s, but waiting till, like, 2012, 13 is when they started, like, coming up with the script and filming. When you wait that long, it's hard to say, let's get everyone back to do a new one. But this movie definitely would have been better off having cameos, like, as the characters. And the fact that it didn't, I think that did hinder at least some of the box office revenue. Maybe not the plot itself, but at least the box office revenue, I think, was definitely hit from people who were like, oh, I love the original, being told, yeah, just another reboot. Because that's the thing. We've always had reboots in Hollywood, even since the 1920s, right? Like, I mean, think about it. The first Phantom of the Opera came out in 1923. First Wizard of Oz was in 1911. First Frankenstein was like a short 10-minute movie in like 1910. Reboots have been a thing for years.
Yeah.
But to do this with Ghostbusters after what people believe felt like teasing, and then writing the script again with some of the stuff that I've already said throughout the podcast, it does feel like, even though no one was actually attacking nerds or attacking the original Ghostbusters fans, it didn't feel like there was open arms, like, come watch the movie, you're going to love it. In the movie itself. I don't think the promotional material was trying to be like, we hate you, nerds, because that's dumb. I don't know, I personally think it's dumb. But you see what I mean, though, right? Throughout the film, it seems like it was not trying to be welcome to original fans, in some respects.
Right.
But again, am I an original fan? I guess so. I liked the first movie. But I think we also just, because I feel like even though you love Star Wars, you might have a different view of it if you saw it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, versus growing up with it as a kid, having the VHS tapes, having the DVDs, watching Clone Wars in high school, all this stuff, just growing with the franchise. Now it's a bit more to you than it would have been if you saw it 3 years ago. So I think maybe that's also what it is too, right? You and I are coming into this with a very much like, yeah, I saw the movie a few years back. I like it.
Right. Yeah.
So I do think but again, that is still no excuse. If you grew up with it, you can say, oh, it sucks that it's not this, but there's a big difference between saying women are just unfunny and don't deserve to be in this movie. Because no.
Yeah. No.
Anyway, thank you all so much for listening in. I'll give you guys the spiel about why we're so cool and what other things we do at the end of this, right after I say goodbye. So goodbye, everybody. And Tristan, if you'd all say goodnight to everyone.
Good night, everybody. Remember, we ain't afraid of no ghosts. We ain't afraid of no podcast.
But we ain't afraid of no podcast, even though it's going to end in like 30 seconds with the entirety of the world. I have to grab you out of the podcast. Oh, 60 seconds, actually. Sorry. We can hear a woman's voice talking to us that you guys can't hear. So I have to grab you guys. All right, so thank you all. Take care. Hope you liked the movie. If you didn't like the movie, that's okay. I didn't make it, so I have no tie-in. I have no strong feelings one way or the other. Good night, everyone.